Hi, I'm Andrew Highway and this is Curl Curl. This was always the best seat for me, sitting outside, flying over the harbour, the spray flying everywhere. You really got a true sensation of speed and what it was like to fly on one of the Sydney hydrofoils. Now, if you didn't want to get wet and windy sitting outside, this was probably the next best place to sit on Curl Curl. You have fantastic panoramic views of the harbour as you're flying along at over 60 kilometres an hour. Now, you can see seats have already been removed, there's no carpet beneath me. The reason for this is I'm actually standing on a large hatch. When this hatch is removed and a hatch above me is also removed, it allows the engines, which are located directly beneath me now, to be lifted out with a crane. The engines are then taken away, repaired, serviced, in this case to be replaced, put back into the engine room, the hatch back on, the carpets, the seats back in place, and Curl Curl is ready to fly again. So here I am, standing on the bridge of the Curl Curl. Almost 30 years ago to the day, here I was as a 16-year-old boy standing with a VHS camcorder filming a trip on her from Manly to Sydney. Little did I know, almost 30 years later, I'd be standing here now, ready and preparing to bring her back to Sydney Harbour again. Now, she's filthy, she's dirty, she's dusty, she has a broken window, her engines don't work. But all this is about to change and soon she will be flying again on Sydney Harbour. This is the lowest saloon at the front of this hydrofoil. You can almost remember back 30 years ago, and this will be packed full of commuters ready to start the short 12-minute run from Manly to Circular Quay. And how about this amazing piece of history? I bet this telephone booth hasn't changed since it was built in 1972. This is the lowest saloon at the rear of the hydrofoil, the largest of the three saloons. Now, if you were lucky enough to have a window seat, while she was at rest, you would almost feel like your feet were sitting in the water. She was sitting that low. But once she was on her foils, you felt like you were flying. This is the engine room. The engines are no longer working, they're old and they're dirty, but soon we will be putting fully working engines back into this hydrofoil again. So what happened after the hydrofoils were withdrawn from service in 1991? Well, the four remaining and surviving hydrofoils, Longreef, Curl Curl, Manly and Sydney, all returned to Naples in Italy in 1992. Unfortunately, soon after arriving, the Longreef was demolished. Manly was renamed Sinai, Sydney was renamed Fast Blue, and Curl Curl was renamed Spargy. All three hydrofoils began their new lives again in the Mediterranean. Now, some years ago, both Manly and Sydney were also demolished. That leaves Curl Curl as the one remaining and surviving member of the Sydney Hydrofoil fleet. here's a view that you are unlikely to have seen before. I'm standing here next to one of Curl's propellers. Now in order for Curl to fly at some 60 kilometers an hour, she needs two 12-cylinder supercharged marine diesels generating a total of 2,700 horsepower. Now this propeller rotates at around 1,600 revs per minute. Now that is power. Curl flew on the harbour for nearly 20 years and she is packed full of stories. Did you ever hear about the one where a water skier was pulled behind Curl at almost 65 kilometers an hour one morning? I personally remember seeing two schoolgirls take the day off school, sit outside on Curl one stormy morning and get absolutely drenched. And you know what? They loved it. What fun! I'm ending this presentation where it began, at the rear of this amazing hydrofoil. I hope you've enjoyed this brief journey back through time as we remember just how wonderful it was to ride on these amazing hydrofoils on Sydney Harbour all those years ago. I truly hope you will help support this venture and help to bring the Curl back flying again on Sydney Harbour in 2019. Thanks again for watching.